Wondering how you can become better at running your business? Entrepreneurship can be stressful. There's too much to do and not enough time. If you're isolated in your daily decisions, have no fear. Success and balance are possible. Welcome to the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where you master the art of running a successful business using practical advice from experts who want to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome. I tell you, every day we've got to get prepared to do something to make our business better. Well, today I've got a guest that's going to help us with that. So I'm happy you're with us for the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where, our goal is to help entrepreneurs and business owners find solutions so they don't become overwhelmed and stressed. Are you ready to hear about one of those areas of 6P business owner formula? Those areas, again, are people, productivity, pricing, promotion, process, and profits. Let's meet our guest today, Henry, who's going to help solve a problem for us. Henry, would you share with our listeners what problem will you help them solve?
Sure. So I'm going to help them solve how to drive growth into their business, specifically driving growth through lead generation.
That becomes so important because lead generation is how we get business today, and there's so many different ways to get it. So today we're talking with Henry Mclntosh. He's the founder of 2112 Marketing. It's a partnership marketing agency, otherwise known as the Commercial Collaborations Agency and Glow Festivals, an Aber ski music festival with absolutely no snow in sight. Now that's pretty interesting. You got to give us a little bit of the history behind that, Henry, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. So, the music festival was born out of COVID. We have a lot of clients for the marketing agency who are in hospitality. They, at certain points, were twiddling their thumbs. They kind of wanted to partner with us to do something different. And the concept we came up with was to run an après-ski festival. Now, the town we're based in and the town we host the festival in has no skiing. There's very rarely snows at all. But what we encourage people to do is turn up in your ski gear and come listen to great music. So everyone turns up in their ski boots, their salopettes, they're wearing goggles, and we put on bands who perform at the best après-ski bars across the globe, and everyone just turns up and has a very good time. So it's a little bit weird, but people tend to love it because it's quite unique.
Well, I think it's so unique because really what we wanted to talk about anyway was with partnership marketing, and it's thinking about different in our business. And in 2024, I've been trying to share with my audience members, we've got to get out of this habit of doing the same thing because we've done the same thing. And how can we change that up? So I guess let's start with, because we don't want to assume anything. Think we get in trouble when we get there. So let's start with that base model of what do you mean by partnership marketing, and how would you define that for us?
Yeah, for sure. So what I'm specifically talking about with partnership marketing is when you partner two complementary but non-competitive businesses to reach a mutual goal. So there are loads of different ways you can shape that, and we actually define it into three different brackets at 2112. We have what we call a value exchange, which is where we partner two businesses together in a non-financial arrangement to co-create content to reach their mutual ideal target market. We also have what we call sponsored collaborations, where we take a small, relatively unknown brand and we partner them with a household brand to quickly gain traction. And the reason we call that a sponsored collaboration is because often the small brand has to pay the big brand, but it's not as expensive as you think most of the time, but it really can gain you traction by virtue of association with that bigger brand. And finally is incentivized collaborations, where we incentivize introducers to refer into your business by offering them a share of the profits.
Oh, cool. So there's multiple ways that they can do it, and different ways you can really decide to how you want to partner with that individual or that company to be able to really ultimately generate more leads, get more business, which we all want in every year, but this year for sure, we want to really kind of create that. So I guess if you don't mind, we talked a little bit about your background and you have the agency. Can you share with us what kind of helps gives you the right that really that you can advise small business owners, because that's who my audience is, about marketing? What's kind of your background and the philosophy that you have in marketing that helps you be an expert in this area?
For sure. I think it's a great question because a lot of small business owners suffer from imposter syndrome. So they get themselves into these situations and self-doubt creeps in, right? Like, am I good enough? Should I be doing this? Am I in the right room? All of those doubts creep in, right? And I think really you'll hear a lot of top entrepreneurs talk about it, but you want evidence, right? You constantly want evidence to prove those doubts wrong. And I think the reason I'm so confident in 2112 now, and we've been going for 8 years now, is the fact that we consistently deliver results. So the evidence is there that when I walk in to advise a business, whether they're small or medium sized, that we have the results to back up what I'm talking about. We've done it before. We're industry agnostic, so we've done it in loads of different industries, from tech, sport, hospitality, financial services, learning and development, engineering even. We've worked in all these different industries. We have compelling case studies within them, and we feel we know the right levers to pull to achieve growth for these different businesses. So that's why I feel we're well placed and we're confident to deliver advice for small businesses.
Yeah. Well, and that's great too that you've done it over 8 years, number one, but also you've done it over different industries. Because I think the thing, I'd be curious to ask you this is you learn something from one industry, and a lot of people may think it doesn't work. It may not work exactly the same, but you can adjust it, probably that marketing strategy, and it will work in other industries also. Have you seen that in your line of work?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're spot on. So what's interesting is everyone talks about needing a niche, right? So you need to be niche, and you might niche down by the industry you work in, but the way we niche down is that uh, our approach, right? So our approach is partnership and content marketing to deliver commercial growth for our clients. Now, interestingly, when I look at our strategies, some of our clients in completely different industries have the same strategy. So to give you an example, we have a client in manufacturing who has exactly the same marketing strategy as a client in wealth management. The
Hmm.
reason for that is for both of them, the strategy is focused on reaching introducers and creating a lot of introducers who can refer new business into their businesses. And we do that by creating CPDs for these introducers. So by CPDs, I mean continuous professional development sessions where our client goes in and they train them on their product or service, which positions our client as credible authority to these introducers. And it empowers the introducers to know how and when to refer business to them. And both of those strategies, well, the same strategy for two very different businesses works incredibly well. Now, the content within the strategy is very different, as you can imagine. But the tactics, the strategy is exactly the same for two very different businesses. And we're constantly looking at across our client base to take learnings from one side to the other. Our B2B brands often give us ideas that we use in our B2C brands, for example. So I think that's a really good point, that sometimes you can find learnings in places you don't expect them. So quite often when I'm listening to podcasts or audiobooks, I'm listening to people who aren't in my industry and seeing what I can learn from them too.
Yeah, well, I think that becomes so huge because you're making a difference there. But as I was doing some research on you and some information you shared with me to be able to kind of get to know you a little bit before I had you on the podcast, one of the things that really interested me is you're kind of renowned and known for precision marketing. on that part of it. So do you mind sharing with me? Because I always want to ask the dumb question somebody may not want to ask because I may think I know what it is, but I'm not sure. So can you share with me, because you're really known for this part of it being in that precision marketing. Share a little bit of your concepts there, if you would.
Yeah, look, I think it's another really interesting point. I think in terms of the precision part, a lot of our clients operate in relatively finite target markets. So they can't fish with dynamite, as it were. They can't just, spray and pray by sending out loads of emails and hoping something sticks. They'll just end up annoying their ideal target market. So in terms of precision marketing, what we're talking about is being laser focused in your approach. And I think too many businesses try to do too much with their marketing. They're actually doing more than they need to. So we one of our core values at 2112 is go deeper, not wider. So the idea is that when you hit an obstacle, you don't try and find your way around it by, say, switching the target market you're targeting. You try and go deeper into what's already working. So with precision marketing, it might mean you start off with a big data set and then you whittle it down and you send hyper personalized communications that are highly relevant to your target market. So everyone gets annoyed, right, with endless LinkedIn messages and cold emails and stuff like that. They get much less annoyed when it's hyper relevant to their role, the pain points they're probably experiencing right now. And with precision marketing, it's about creating the right message and delivering it at the right person to the right person at the right time, right? So forget that spray and pray approach. That's not us. It's very much we'd rather create 10 high quality leads for our clients rather than waste their time with 100 leads that they have to get on the phone, kiss a load of frogs to actually get to the good stuff, right? We want to deliver those type of leads which are sales qualified, they're really warm, and our clients can actually have a really good conversation with them. So that's the focus of precision marketing.
You're listening to the Small Business Answer Man podcast. We'll be right back. And now back to the show. Well, I think that precision marketing is so crucial because you're really targeting down and you're giving them the messages they want to hear. Like you said, the whatever words you want to use, the spray method of just try to hit anything and hope something sticks and stuff. Those days are gone because, people now, I mean, we're getting way too many emails anyway and too many messages. So we're really trying to target down and you're seeing people, all they're doing is clicking off anyway. So I think that becomes a real key. So I appreciate you sharing that and your philosophy there. I'm just kind of curious about this because as I was doing the research and finding some of these things out, I see you're actually a remote marketing agency, and share with me some of your philosophy there, but also kind of some of maybe even a challenge that you feel that you've had with it, but also the benefits that you've seen with it, because I'm trying to really get small business owners to realize you're never going to have enough people in your marketplace to hire anymore because the birth rates are lower than what we need to replace the workforce that's going out of the workforce. So we're having to do it differently than we've done before. And so I want to just get some of your philosophies because hopefully this will help some other small businesses realize. I mean, I told you offline, I've got my first virtual assistant and stuff that's working for the company and stuff. And I'm telling you personally, it's made a big benefit for me not doing stuff that I don't enjoy doing, but also she's able to handle some of those details things and it allows me to do things like I like doing, like interviewing great guests like Henry here. So share with me with your remote marketing agency and just kind of how it works for you and what you've seen as some of the benefits and maybe even a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we were kind of forced into it. So during COVID, we had a really nice office on a golf course and everyone enjoyed it. And for 6 months, no one could step foot in it. So we're paying rent and we had this pain point and the lease came up and we just decided, you know what, we'll go remote and we'll try it. And now at that point, my employees, some of them wanted to move. One of them moved to London, which isn't far from here, but it's about 45 minutes. So we went completely remote. And I think the challenge, first of all, is communication, right? So and communication in so many different ways. So when you bring on a new hire, as we did during COVID, what you don't realize is how much people take in when they're in an office with you, when they just hear you on the phone, they hear how you communicate with clients and they hear how you communicate with colleagues. They learn so much. So I think a real challenge was, how do you bring a new employee up to speed when you're remote? So we had to change our systems to be much more robust in terms of onboarding and how we onboarded new employees. I think the benefit was that actually we could hire from a much, much wider area. So suddenly it opened up London as an area to hire in, right? Because we still like face to face, so we'll still meet up as a team, and we even met up today. But London is a location to hire in. There's so much talent there. Um, and for my employees, having this mix of being able to go into, we have co-working space in London, have co-working space out here. They can work from where they choose. Their schedules are flexible. It's a huge benefit in terms of employee wellness. And all the data points towards happier employees and more productive employees and more profitable companies, right? So I think that the benefits outweigh the challenges, but you've got to be on top of your communications. It makes you have to be a lot more robust with your processes, right? So with my employees, it's kind of every week it's having a one-to-one with each one of them. So you're spending time with them on a one-to-one basis. You're doing these team meetings all together on Zoom, and then you're meeting up face to face as and when you can, right? So you've just got to be a little bit more on it in terms of communication and your processes. But for the most part, yeah, I think the benefits outweigh the challenges.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, but I will tell you the research I've done and what I've seen with small businesses, guess what's the number one challenge, even if they're in person? Communication.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah,
thing
yeah,
is, what you're talking about, though, you got to be more intentional about how you're going to do it. And then, of course, when you're bringing someone new on, how you're going to onboard them, because you can't assume some things that they just happen to see around the office and stuff. But I tell you, for all businesses, your number one challenge is communication anyway. It's just
yeah,
finding out different ways to do it, just like you're doing with your one-on-ones, and you're getting that time with them. And then where there's some office hours or whatever you call. I've heard there's virtual meetups, of it's okay, we're going to have coffee together and we're just going to talk about
yeah.
the business. But it's no different, because sometimes we do that. We don't ever do that even in our office. So it's about being intentional about putting that communication out there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really, really valid point. And do I think we are better communicators now than we were in an office? I think probably. I think we probably are much more skeptical about, do we need this meeting, right? In an office, there's a lot of wasted time as well. So people, I think, are more productive now. I think it forced us to look at our communication in a way we never did in an office. I think an office can make you lazy, whereas a lot of people have said, going remote, the problem is you lose that creativity, right? You lose bouncing ideas off people and stuff like that. And I think it does make it harder in that respect to just bounce an idea off someone. But we use channels like Slack. Our team uses WhatsApp. So they're quick communication methods. People drop in voice notes, they go for walks, and the conscious stream of thought on a voice note. And actually there are different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And I think we are probably better communicators as a result of being forced to review that.
Yeah. I think your key is, I think you said the word, or at least the word I'm thinking of is intentional, about being intentional. I do have a couple questions I want to ask you before we run up on that time. It always happens and stuff, but I want to ask this because I know there's those established businesses. What can they do, or what's some things you would share with them that they need to really improve their marketing or give some consideration as to help them in the marketing aspect. Because sometimes what they do is they did the same thing they did last year. They just repeat and rinse and stuff. And sometimes that won't work again.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of established businesses, you're right, get into a bit of a rut, and a lot of our clients come to us, and we call them small but successful, and often they build their success off the back of referrals. So referrals are a great sign that you're running a superb business because people trust you, they like you, they want to share you with their peers. But the problem with referrals is that they can be unpredictable and difficult to scale. So with established businesses, what we look at is actually what do they need to be doing to scale up and create more predictability within their marketing. And a few things, what that starts with is looking at the quick wins. So how are they communicating with their current audiences? So across channels such as email marketing, across LinkedIn, these are really simple platforms to consistently create good content on that you can share with your audience. Because I think also a lot of businesses take for granted how much their audience actually knows about their business. So I think you need to be constantly educating your audience through those channels. I think there's a stat that something like only 5% of B2B buyers are ever in the market at any one time for your product or service. So if you think about that, it's almost impossible to predict the timing. So you've consistently got to be reaching them and reaching them with good content. So then what I'd advise them to do is look at, okay, who can they partner with who has access to their ideal target market currently, who they can co-create content with, run a marketing campaign with. They might collaborate on an event where they both bring their clients together for a seminar or a webinar or something along those lines, that they can drive net new people into their audience. And when those net new people come into their audience and you've got your communications going out consistently, hopefully you're going to then nurture them to a point where they'll convert into a lead, they'll convert into a piece of business. But I think really a lot of people aren't doing those simple things well.
Yeah. And I think the key is an established business really does have more opportunity to do partnership marketing because they've
Yeah.
got history on their side. People want to be part of that. So they've got a client base already. And now they're trying to go partner with somebody that's going to really get them a different client base or deeper into the same clients that they're in. So I think that opportunity really comes up here. And what you were talking about with partnership marketing, the opportunities really become available. I've got one other quick question that I wanted to ask you because I'm just always curious to hear from the marketing side because we're hearing it all the time. But AI, how do you think? I know it's not a quick question, but give me a little bit of your feedback of how you think AI is going to transform marketing as we go forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there are so many use cases, right? And I think you can get bogged down in AI. And people, start of last year, people were quite worried about AI. They were worried it was going to replace a load of jobs and stuff like that. I think we're further from that than people actually realize. I think if you think ChatGPT writes good copy, you don't know what great copy looks like. You need to work with a copywriter, right? And I think tools like ChatGPT can be great sounding boards, but don't copy and paste from them. Use them to generate ideas, use them as a soundboard, use them to rewrite your copy and stuff like that. Fine. But focus on originality. When everyone's using ChatGPT, how can you be different? And I think partnership marketing gives you the opportunity to create original content, right? To create original content with thought leaders in a way that AI can't produce, right? So I think instantly you become head and shoulders above your competitors. Now, we do use AI for transcribing our meetings, recording our meetings here. That's super useful. I think it's only going to get better and better, right? And I think at a certain point, people need to ask, what is the point in making AI so superhuman that it effectively replaces us, right? And I think there was a really interesting podcast I listened to, which was Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, where they were talking about actually at a certain point what the moral implications of it. So I think, look, it can be a useful tool right now. I would advise small business owners not to get too hung up on it. It can be ChatGPT, can be super useful, but take it with a pinch of salt for sure.
Yeah, it's like anything. What will help you really with your business is there's ways that you can get information that you need. Make sure you verify it information, but it's not to replace. It's to help us improve, be more efficient, which today we're going to have to be more efficient. We've talked about that with the challenge of employees. So today we've had with us Henry Mclntosh, and he's with 2112.com. So it's 20-1-12.com. So check out his website and go to that and get some more information. And I think you're also willing, is that right, Henry, that if someone would like to have a conversation, you'll do a strategy call with them and talk about their business and dig deep into their business?
Yeah, for sure. I'm always happy to take a call with anyone who wants some strategic advice. So they're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me a line. Happy to chat.
Yeah, and we'll connect. We'll have all those in show notes. There is LinkedIn side of it, also on the company LinkedIn. We'll have all that in show notes. So just check your show notes and that'll be available to you. Henry, I really appreciate the information you shared. But before I let you go, I ask every guest the same question, is what would be your best advice you would give to our business owners listening to the podcast?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we touched on it, but I think most businesses have a wealth of opportunity sat under their nose. So whenever we go into a new client, we look at what we call the quick wins. How do we generate traction for them quickly? And it always starts with their brand aware audiences. So we look at the founders' LinkedIn connections, we look at their email database, we look at the amount of website traffic they're getting. And what we look at is how well are they communicating with brand aware audiences? And how could they be doing it even better? And I think for small business owners, they can do this process themselves. They can look at who's in their network right now they should be communicating with, or they haven't communicated with in a while, and catch up with them, offer them something of value, and I guarantee you'll start seeing some traction from just doing that simple thing.
Well, Henry, I appreciate you sharing all your expertise with our listeners today. Really give us time to think about our marketing and our promotion. And mine, it's promotion, but that's really all about the marketing in our business. And I think every business owner needs to concentrate on this, because it's not about the business today. It's about the business 3 months from now, 6 months from now, that we've got to be prepared to have that. So thank you for joining us. Again, it's 2112 Marketing. I'll have all the show notes. We'll have their website, his LinkedIn, and everything else in. But thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, some great information. So my action, I always give you an action when we get done. What is your marketing? Do you have your marketing plan in place for this year? Are you executing on it? Or is it one of those things you thought about doing, but you've not done? Well, go back and really look at the promotion area of your business and tell yourself, what do I need to do there this year? Because to get your results, marketing drives that. And every business has some sort of marketing that they do. So I tell you, please take a look at that and really dial that in and get yourself a plan of action that you're going to do the rest of this year. So I appreciate you joining us on the podcast. That's all the time we have today. But next time, go out there each and every day and continue to grow your business. Remember, don't ascend to the top of the mountain by yourself. When you help others achieve their success, you find significance in life. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with another great guest.
That's all the time we have for this week. To continue your journey, head over to smallbusinessanswerman.biz to access the tools and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would benefit from listening. That's smallbusinessanswerman.biz. Until next time, remember, when you find the right solutions, your business grows, and you get your time back.